day, everybody. It is Calxiyn here, and today we are gathering in Calxiyn's royal court to discuss Beastars Season 2, Episode 4 in a reaction and review where we will discuss, analyze, and theorize about what is to come and what is already here. I hope that you will enjoy it, and if you do, remember that you should subscribe so you are notified when I post a Beastars video. Follow me on my other social medias if you want. All the links for that are in the description, or join the Discord server, both to get notifications in case YouTube doesn't send them out, and then also just to join with our community over there. And thank you to all the patrons and YouTube membership members for making videos like this possible. If you'd like to join them to get some cool rewards while also directly monetarily supporting me so I can continue making this type of content, the link is in the description for that as well. They get early access to these videos, but also my full-length timer and subtitle reactions. And so if you want to see the full experience, not just the highlights that I've chosen, the link will be in the description for that. But without further ado, let's just get into it. Legoshi sneezing, them, reminding us that he's sick and somebody's gonna bop him right now when he can't smell. Oh no! Legoshi just got whacked, bro! Oh no! Oh Jesus Christ! Oh no, it's definitely the bear. It has to be. It has to be the bear. Right? Oh, this is not good. Why isn't Six Eyes keeping an eye on Legoshi, bro? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you could be out with him as some extra protection. Jesus Christ. Oh, see, he can't smell anything. It's like he has no vision. Wow, they're already going there? Jesus. Oh, Legoshi. I didn't think that they would reveal the murderer so soon, but maybe they won't. Maybe he's just trying to intimidate him. Oh. Yeah, nice! Go for it, Legoshi! Yeah, get him! Yeah, let's go! Oh, damn! Oh, God, I can't. That's making me a little queasy. Oh, no. Oh, God. Well, shouldn't the murderer now be going around with an injury? Damn! He's just like, I should have kissed Haru before I died, bro! Oh my lord. Legoshi's gonna be like, hey guys, come pick me up, I'm scared. I just got attacked. Oh, Legoshi. Oh, really? Oh, they're such good friends! Maybe Legoshi should just end up with Jack, you know? Oh, wait, he's trying to tell him where he is. Oh, good job, Jack! Good job! Good job, Jack! Oh. Oh, I love how he brought the tissues. Oh, he's crying! It's okay. Oh, I didn't know their friendship was so strong. Bro, he's not gonna die. He's fine. He's okay. It's not his blood. Okay? Don't worry. Oh, hello? Can y'all call the police? Who knows? Jesus Christ. Yeah, come on. Oh. I wonder where he's... To the black market? Maybe he'll talk to the panda about it. Legoshi. Yeah, but I love when Legoshi talks big. Whoa, 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 whoa. Oh my god. Whoa, 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 wait, what? Whoa, 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 what? What? Hello, what is happening? Excuse me, I'm confused. You lost me, sis. Oh boy, well that's not a good idea. No, do not do that. Absolutely not. Another dancer? That means it's already happened? Bro! Oh no, that's not good. I like that mentality though, in a sense. You know what I mean? She's taking advantage of their, like exploit the patriarchy or something. You know what I mean? Jesus Christ, okay. Whoa, well that's not good. Somebody sabotaged her just now. Whoa, 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 sis. Oh no, well that's not good. Somebody sabotaged her. Was it the cat lady? Oh, come on, Rui. Ooh, damn. Who is that talking? Oh, the Shishigumi. Damn, yeah, y'all get him, bro. Damn, he's the boss. Oh, man. I think that they are going to be together. Oh, I like that. Damn, so the other girl did it, you bitch. Oh, yeah, see, you told him to go home and go to bed. Yeah, Rui, oh, man. Yep, the black market's my only home now. Oh, I ship them. They should be together. One is an antelope, one is a deer, or something, I don't know. Oh my god. Wait, what if that meat is the girl that pulled down the cage? That'd be crazy. We're never seeing that cat girl again. Oh, see, he cares about him. I feel like that this is his surrogate father now. Yeah, you should probably eat some deer food, you know? Oh, he bought him takeout. Oh, he needs little vegetable. No, he's not. Oh, this is so sweet. I love it here. Oh, you're our hope. You're my son. Oh, I love this. He's just like his dad. You know, a good dad. Oh. No, he's not. He just cares about you. Legoshi? Damn. Juno? Juno what? Damn. I'll bite if you touch me. Damn. She wants to see. Oh, Rui. Why did she want to see Rui? All right, everybody, let us get into the review. And so we start off with this very interesting flashback of a scene that we didn't get to see before in season 1. And so we see that Tem and Legoshi are basically like, I don't know, they're just chilling. They're big chilling by themselves. And so Legoshi is asking, alpaca fur is probably different from sheep fur, right? Alpaca fur is finer. And I wonder if this is going to become relevant or if this was just kind of like a nice memory of like carnivore and herbivore bonding, I guess. Because like, you know, he lets Legoshi touch his fur. He's not scared or anything. He trusts Legoshi despite like obviously Legoshi's claws and everything. So it could be just that sort of scene. But while I was watching it, I was also thinking, what if that's a hint towards being able to tell what animal the person is, like the attacker, if Legoshi was able to basically like feel the fur on them, right? Because like a cat's fur would be different from a bear's fur, would be different from a wolf's fur, etc, 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 right? And so right now I am leaning more towards the bear. Unfortunately, my red herring idea was not correct. If you remember from last week, I had basically said like, oh, well, what if it's a red herring and it's not the murderer, but it's actually Bill basically coming in to tell Legoshi a piece of information. It unfortunately just was straight up the murderer, right? But it has to be someone from the drama club. given the fact that they are the only ones that know that Legoshi was like stuffed up because of his cold and couldn't smell anyone coming, right? And so I feel like that it has to be, at this point, the bear. I feel like that Bill is the red herring, and if the bear is like this like obscenely strong, you know, carnivore, right? Like Legoshi has taken Bill in a fight, but this guy apparently has a whole different level of strength. So it's either the bear in the drama club or no one. Like, I will die on this hill. Like, it's either him or it's no one that we know, I guess I should say. Not that it's no one. Obviously, somebody killed Tem, right? But you know what I mean. And so he's like, why am I thinking of this now? In reality, we weren't. I think that he means we're not that close, but like, we weren't that close. You know what I mean? Like, we weren't that close of friends, right? Like, why am I thinking of it as if I have some, like, personal vendetta, right? And so he says, I want to find the culprit who devoured him, but this isn't coming from a personal sense of duty, right? That's what he says, but I feel like he changes his mind almost, you know, like he's thinking of that now, but then later on, I think that he changes his mind and is like, I'm sorry, Tem, I shouldn't have said that, you know? We were close. I feel like that he's almost trying to, like, I don't know, distance himself from his duty, if that makes sense. He's trying to be like, well, it's not because of Tem, it's just because of, like, you know, X, Y, and Z. It's because I'm the only one that can. It's like my burdened responsibility. But I almost think that the reason why Legoshi says this is now because, like, later on he's like, you know what, I'm sorry, Tem, it is for you, right? And I feel like that maybe he doesn't want to acknowledge that because he doesn't want to make things personal or feel like that he's like, oh yes, like, Tem, I'm the carnivore that's gonna solve your murder. And so, like, this way, without any, like, you know, feelings attached, I guess, right, it may be easier. And so I don't know, that was a very interesting thing. But yeah, then Legoshi starts to get, like, beat, right? And so he acknowledges that it's a carnivore and that he's a large carnivore, right? And so this person obviously has, like, a lot more strength compared to, I guess, characters that we've seen in the past. So I don't think that it's Bill, because Legoshi, again, has fought Bill before, and, like, Bill was pretty strong in himself, but I feel like that, like, I think that it's the bear. You guys know what I'm saying. I think it's the bear, and I really love how this scene was animated. Like, this was just, like, very, like, fascinating to see, because you kind of, like, you see what's happening, but they obscure the person's face so well by having kind of Legoshi in this outline. Like, he's aware of his own body, he's aware that, you know, like, somebody is grabbing him or punching him or what he is basically being punched against, I guess you could say, but you can't see, like, who the guy is. And so, yeah, he basically cracks his head open, right? And so he's also tied up at this point, right? And so, yeah, is that supposed to be a threat, telling me not to sniff around any further? I feel like that maybe you seem to really like showing off your arm strength. So again, that's why I feel like that it's probably, again, the drama club bear. Just because I feel like that, I don't know, I guess Bill would have arm strength too, but it's just like, oh, I need to see that guy again. I need to see the bear again, because I feel like the bear was pretty, like, beefy, like, in terms of, like, the arms. But anyway, but as a fellow carnivore, right? And so it seemed like he was trying to reason with him for a minute, but then it's like, oh yeah, that wasn't working. Alpaca fur is finer. Touch it if you want. Oh, okay, so now he's saying, Tem, I'm sorry for saying we're not that close, because now he's realizing, like, you know, like, this is the carnivore, this is the murderer that I'm running into. And so I don't think he's saying this to the murderer, but I think that he's saying this kind of, like, thinking about it now, like, the fact that this carnivore is, like, strong and has all this arm strength and is clearly very overpowering, and now he's, like, very sorry that Tem got murdered by someone like this, by someone who was so overpowering, because it's almost like Tem never had a chance, you know? And it's also like, for herbivores to be friendly with carnivores is actually something really special, right? That's the most important thing we carnivores should never forget. And so, yeah, that's, like, the interesting thing, right? Is that as he's sort of, like, saying, oh yeah, Tem, we weren't that close, why am I thinking of that? Like, he's remembering that moment and realizing that he is closer to Tem than he thought, because, like, Tem, like, let him in. You know what I mean? Like, that's such a rare thing. Like, Tem obviously valued and trusted him. And so now the murderer has broken kind of, like, that sacred trust. Like, that's sort of how I see this. And then we get this flashback, like, this line from Haru, right? She's exactly right. You can be a little harsh, but I think I understand now. I'll repay my herbivore friend's kindness some way or the other, right? And so I feel like that's basically what he's like realizing now, is like this carnivore is basically like big enough to even overpower other carnivores. Like it wasn't even fair to begin with. So the fact that a carnivore would like abuse their power like that and devour Tem, like I think to Legoshi is kind of unforgivable. And so yeah, we get a very interesting type fight here. So I thought that Legoshi was trying to bite him, and I thought that would be easy, right? Because it's just whoever, you know, has the bite in the drama club, right? But I don't think he actually got that far. I think that he didn't like actually lay a bite on him. I think that like it's kind of implied that he like got into his mouth or something, right? So I was reading and there were a couple of different interpretations of this, and one of them was that like Legoshi basically licked him. It wasn't like, you know what I mean, like give me your saliva, right? And so it wasn't that he bit him, it was more that he like basically like tried to like lick him. He basically like went for the face and tried to like taste his saliva. Oh god, I'm getting like, I gag very easily at stuff like this, like even thinking about, oh god, even thinking about spit makes me sick. Okay, so it's, yeah, like how's his spit? Does it taste like meat, right? Give me your saliva, like that's, he's basically trying to like think of a clue, right? And so I guess he couldn't bite him, right? And so he just went, like he went for something that this guy wouldn't expect, and now he like ran away, like the murderer was like, what the fuck, you're a freak, Legoshi, you know what I mean? So I feel like that's kind of what happened, is that like Legoshi basically went in, like instead of for the bite, which he should have bit him, but, like, I guess he couldn't have, right? Because he was also fighting back. And so licking him was probably, like, the easiest thing to do. And so, yeah, but seriously, if this were the case, I should have kissed Haru earlier for the first time. And so I feel like that the implication of that is, like, damn, I should have kissed Haru, like, for my first kiss instead of, like, licking the murderer. Like, he basically had his first kiss with the murderer by accident. I think that that's basically what he's trying to say. And so then we have Jack, and I'm not sure who the other guy is. Anyway, it seems like maybe they're playing, like, Pokemon or something, but, like, would every video game be about, like, animals? Because they're all animals, so a guy's tail attack could just be, like, any guy. Because, like, when you say that, I think of, like, a Pokemon, but, like, all of the human characters, like, if all video games in our real world are inside of Beastars, that means that every human video game character must be converted into an animal. So really, this could just be, like, any game, who knows, right? And so Jack's calling, hello, Legoshi? It's Legoshi breathing through his nose when he's sick. He's probably asking me to bring him tissues, and I'm just like, Jack, like, what? What is the logic, Jack? But I think that was really funny because he's like, what? You can tell I've known him for a long time. And I didn't really realize how close Jack and Legoshi were, and now I feel really bad for my, like, slander. I don't know if you remember, but in the episode where I was wearing, like, the Beastar shirt that I found at the store and Jack was on it, I had this attitude, like, I don't know why Jack's here. He's not so important. Like, he's not as important as the other characters, but he can be here, I guess, right? But, like, he is so smart. Like, he figures out exactly where Legoshi is and that he's in trouble. The older I get, the less I can do for Legoshi. And so I feel like that as kids, he was probably kind of, like, protective of Legoshi because Legoshi was always like, you know, I make myself small. I sink in the background, that type of thing. And so he's like, now, like, as Legoshi gets older and, like, embraces his strength, there's less that I can do for him as a friend, right? And so, yeah, I hope he doesn't get panicked when he sees me, bro. And, like, look at him, and he's crying. And I'm like, oh, like, I feel so bad. I'm sorry, Jack. I'm sorry for the Jack slander. I didn't mean to, right? No, don't die, Legoshi. Do you recognize me? And he's just, like, afraid that Legoshi's gonna die. And I'm just like, Jack, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. You know, look, he's even, like, angry. He's like, who did this to you? I'll fight them. And I'm just like, you're not gonna fight them, Jack. He didn't say that, but, like, you know what I mean? That's sort of the vibe. Who knows, right? He's just like, it'd be like that sometimes. So, now that we've talked about this, I won't be able to go to school for a while. Also, you know what pisses me off? You know what makes me mad? Like, I get that the whole thing is that Legoshi has to do it himself and, like, through his own strength, but, like, Six Eyes couldn't be out here making sure he didn't get fucking jumped on his investigation. You know what I mean? Like, what is she doing? She's a security guard. What is she doing, sis? She's not doing shit, you know what I mean? And so that's the thing that, like, bothered me about this episode is, like, that Six Eyes should be around to protect Legoshi, right? Because he's, like, looking for the murderer, but now he has to leave school because Six Eyes is, I don't know, like, what does she do all day? She's just, you know, she went out for cigarettes and she never came back. Like, that's sort of the vibe that I'm getting, is, like, she was just like, okay, Legoshi, you're on your own, but, like, he doesn't need to be on his own while he's getting beat up. Like, why didn't she, like, stick around to protect him? Will you tell the teacher that I need to look after my sick grandpa? And so I want to see Grandpa Legoshi. I want to, like, know about, like, because I think his parents aren't around, or at least, like, he doesn't talk about his parents, right? So obviously it seems like that his grandpa is the one that, like, take cares of him and stuff. Like, I feel like that we may have heard something about that last season. I don't know, but, like, I want to know. I want to see little wolf grandpa. That makes me so happy. Anyway, I borrowed a math textbook from Colo. It's in my desk in the classroom, so could you return it to him for me? Please take care of these two things. And so I feel like that's, like, very indicative, I guess, of Legoshi's characters. He's like, okay, well, first of all, like, tell the teacher that I'm sick. I mean, that kind of makes sense. Or not that he's sick, but he's just, like, taking leave to go take care of his grandpa. But then the whole other thing is, like, oh, but also, like, you know, could you make sure that, like, our classmate gets his math textbook back? Like, it just shows, like, I don't know, like, you know what I mean? In the face of death, like, he's, like, concerned about something like that, because, you know, like, his friend lent him that textbook, okay? His friend needs to go get it back. Like, that's the idea. And I just love that about Legoshi, you know what I mean? Like, so, like, thoughtful, I guess you could say. And so Jack tries to convince him to go to the doctor's office to get, like, the, you know, the claw mark treated. No, if I stay at the school, he'll kill me next time for sure. And, like, that's the other thing, is that Jack's not in the drama club, right? So I wonder, like, how much he knows about, like, what Legoshi's doing and everything like that, or does he think it's involved with something else? Like, who knows? Someplace you don't need to know about, Jack. I'm sure I'll be back. What is this? You know I already know, right? And so that's the thing, is, like, does he know? Because I don't know. Like, what do you know, Jack? That's the only thing I'm wondering. You've been distanced for months now. You're never coming back, are you? And I'm just like, no, of course he'll come back, right? And so I feel like that he's almost, like, not necessarily overreacting, but he's, like, obviously, like, you know, scared, I guess. Right, he's scared that Legoshi will never come back. And so, yeah, that was just kind of interesting to me, because I'm like, well, where did you get that idea from, that he's never going to come back to school? I've always hoped for you to overcome your awkwardness and obtain normal happiness. So, since when did all this start happening, right? So he's basically saying the stronger you become, the more unhappy you get. And so I feel like that he was sort of saying, like, hey, you know, all this time I wanted you to overcome your awkwardness and be happy. And in order to overcome your awkwardness, I guess you could say that Legoshi had to embrace his strength. But now that you're embracing your strength like I wanted you to, you are becoming more unhappy, like, more as time goes on. And so I feel like that that's what Jack is getting at, is that he wanted Legoshi to break out of his shell, to stop being so awkward. And, like, he thought that, like, Legoshi actually embracing his strength and who he is as a wolf and all of that stuff would be able to do those things, would be able to get rid of the awkwardness. But basically, what Jack is saying is, like, that he can't stand it anymore, and then later on, Legoshi's like, my strength doesn't exist to make me happy. And so I feel like that, like, he's basically saying, well, that's, like, the misconception that you had, Jack, was that if I broke out of, like, my awkward shell using my strength, that strength would make me happy, but my strength doesn't serve to make me happy as a carnivore. Like, my strength is so I can protect other people, and that is my burden to bear, and because it's a burden, that is, like, unhappy, you know what I mean? Like, my strength doesn't exist to make me happy, right? Like, you don't, I don't know how to explain it, but it's one of those things where it's like, Legoshi, I feel like that he almost is thinking about, like, carnivores who use their brute force or use their strength for their own happiness, whereas Legoshi recognizes, like, the strength isn't for him to use for his own happiness, but rather he should use it, like, to protect other people, you know what I mean? And I think that that's really interesting, because you could see, like, carnivores who use their strength for their own happiness as maybe selfish, or, like, characters that, you know, work towards their own, like, personal gain or, like, insidious motives, right? Because, like, that sort of strength, like, exerting that sort of strength or that level of strength in a society where you're also among herbivores is like inherently unfair, right? And so I think that what Legoshi's saying is like, my strength doesn't exist to make me happy, because the way that I would use my strength would be almost like to put down others, I guess. Like, that's the way a lot of carnivores may use their strength. And so really, right, all I realize is now, like, with great power comes great responsibility. With the strength I do have, I need to use it, like, for good and for the herbivores. And that is, I don't think that it makes him unhappy in the sense that, like, you know, he's, like, miserable or anything, but it's more like it's his cross to bear, as I mentioned earlier. And so at that moment, Jack seems so bright and distant to me, and seeing Jack cry here was, like, obviously very, like, oh. Jack, the one with the golden fur, who is crying out for his friend, and I, the silent one covered with dark blood, are completely different creatures now, right? And I feel like that's the other thing, too, is that, like, I feel like that, you know, they're both canines. That's something that Legoshi says earlier. It's fine to call him Doggy, right? Like, Pina calls him Doggy, and that's fine because they're both canines. But I feel like that it may tie into like this, right? Like, they're both canines technically. You know, Jack's kind of like a golden retriever and Legoshi's a wolf, but they are two different creatures now for like two different reasons. Maybe it's because Jack, yes, is a carnivore, but can also exist in a way where like the maximum of his strength, I guess, is like not that much, I guess, but like characters like wolves and lions and bears that are very hulking and large kind of have a different existence. It's like, you know, at the beginning, we were both just carnivores, but now we're two different creatures, and that's like physically, it's also like, you know, philosophically, I think too, and so there's just like a lot to unpack with that, but I could see that, it's just like, you know, we're both canines, like, we're both like the same, you know, we're both the same, but now he's like, Jack, like, we are definitely not the same, because Jack is literally like the golden retriever type character, whereas Legoshi is now kind of like this dark hero, right? So it's just even like that fundamental of a difference. Yeah, and so he says, my strength doesn't exist to make me happy, and then he makes a run for it, and he basically jumps over the fence, which I think is also, again, something that Jack can't do. Like, he can't, you know, he can't climb that high. He probably could climb the fence very slowly, but, like, he can't chase after Legoshi anymore, because he is not strong enough either. And so I think that, like, that's very interesting, like, the relationship between Jack and Legoshi, Jack's character arc moving forward. Will Jack think that it's his fault, you know, because he told Legoshi to break out of his shell, and, like, Legoshi, like, he broke out all right, but now he's realizing something. I don't know, you could also say that, like, this is kind of a metaphor for, like, high school friendships and stuff. Like, you realize that you're different people as you start to grow up with different philosophies and different beliefs. Like, I don't know, like, it's a very interesting to unpack, but I'm sure that Legoshi's going back to school, first of all, right? Like, he is going back to school, right? So, like, that's the first thing. And then the second thing is, like, I'm sure that they'll make up. Like, I'm sure that they, you know, they drifted apart a little bit, but it's also because of Legoshi's secrets, right? So maybe if he just let Jack know what was going on, like, that could, like, repair their friendship, I guess. And so now Legoshi basically wants to hunt down the panda guy, who I can't remember his name, but I think that the reason why he asked about the bamboo grass is because he's, like, he's trying to find, you know, like, oh, do you know, like, this customer who comes by and probably buys bamboo. Like, at first I was like, oh, Legoshi, you forgot the secret code. Like, I thought, you know, it was some sort of, like, you know, say that you want 50 bamboo grass of, like, a specific type, and then he'll let him in the back, right, where the panda guy is. But I don't think that's it. I think that it's literally, he was gonna ask, like, hey, do you know so-and-so? Do you know where I can actually find him, right? And so, but then he's hesitant because he's like, oh, but do I actually want advice? I'm only seeking someone to rely on, right? So he's like, I want advice. But then he's like, maybe I don't want advice. Maybe I need something to rely on. And then he's thinking, no, it's neither of those things. I want somebody to, you know, teach me how to fight, right? So I feel like that's the whole idea, is that, like, Legoshi is basically going through, he doesn't even know what he wants from him, really. And so I love the design of this turtle. They are just, like, so cute, but I would feel, like, very scared for them, because they don't seem like a very much of a carnivore in the black market. But I also, like, I love his, like, kind of, not disguise, but I guess his raincoat and, like, everything. I just think that that's, like, you know, I don't know, he's just, like, I like his incognito, look, I guess. Oh, so it is you. Apart from all the injuries, you seem to be doing well. What I want is an advice or someone to rely on. See, so Legoshi's like, I just need some advice. I just want to talk to him. Actually, no. I don't want him, I don't want to rely on him either. Like, I want him to teach me how to throw fucking hands, okay? And so he's just like, yeah, no, like, I refuse. Bye, see you later. And, like, Legoshi's just left bowing like that in the middle. And I thought that this was also kind of good, like, for, I don't know, like, a metaphor of the divide, I guess, between, like, Gohan and then, like, the rest of the black market. Like, look, this is all, like, plants, right? And then you have, like, the meat. It's almost like, it's a literal, like, divide between, like, the two worlds, right? So that's what I thought was, like, really, really cool in that shot. Like, the one sort of, like, little plant market among all, like, these sausages and stuff, right? And so I thought that was kind of interesting, right? So a carnivore who devoured a herbivore is lurking in your school. And not only that, the incident happened within the drama club you belong to. You really attract all the misfortune, don't you? The one who attacked me today is the culprit without a doubt, and he was extremely strong. It's dangerous for him to remain loose like this. And so here's the other interesting thing, is wouldn't it make for, like, a very interesting, not parallel per se, but, like, it would kind of make sense if it was the bear in the drama club, because now you have Gohan, who is a panda, teaching Legoshi how to fight, right? And so he may recognize in a couple episodes, if he does actually fight him and they spar and stuff, he may realize, like, my attacker had arm strength just like yours. It must be a bear. And then he'll be able to narrow it down that way. Like, I feel like that was a very intentional type of connection. And I'm looking forward to seeing if that, like, pays off, right? Because he wants, I want to be strong. Will you teach me how to fight? Because what if he fights Gohan and then he's like, shit, like, this is familiar. This is because the arm strength you have is almost the same as the carnivore who attacked me, so that must mean it's a bear, right? Like, that sort of logic, right? You may have forgotten, but my main job is a physician at the black market. Carrying a bomb like you will only get in the way of my work. And I like this little, like, illustration that they had in the scene. It is like a bomb. Like, what do you mean? I'm not the type who gets livid and screams out of nowhere. And so I feel like that was interesting, just because it's like, it's a silent but deadly types you gotta watch out for. Legoshi? Like, that may be the vibe of this guy, I guess. The Shishigumi boss who you knocked down is gaining power in the black market right now. Good grief. If they catch you shamelessly going in and out of here for this training, just putting a bullet through you won't satisfy them, right? And so I'm wondering if that's true, though. Like, would the new Shishigumi actually kill Legoshi for killing their boss? Because now they're under Rui, right? So that would be interesting. Like, obviously, Gohan doesn't know that, so I don't blame him for thinking so. But yeah, I'm just sort of thinking, like, is that true? Is that actually the case? I don't know. And so he's basically saying, like, how they're gonna deal with you is none of my business. I don't want to get involved because I'm already in a bad position. So drink your tea and leave. I haven't had much of a presence since I was little, so I'll be fine. So I feel like that maybe we'll get, like, not Legoshi backstory per se, but I want to see scenes with his grandpa. Okay, I don't think that I rewatched season 1 recently. I don't think that we got that. I'll do my best to be sneaky. How can you sneak around with that physique? Then I'll live and work in here. What about school? I'm on leave for a while. Despicable, right? Like, that's the worst thing he could have said. What if you don't have enough credits to graduate in this time of job shortages? And so that's the only thing that I didn't quite understand is, like, I guess he means, like, not graduating high school in this economy. Like, what if, because of this little, like, escapade that you're doing, you don't have enough credits to graduate, right? But, like, can't you just, like, stay in school longer? Can't you just do, like, a victory lap? Like, you know what I mean? Like, they're not gonna, like, be like, oh, Legoshi, you have 39 courses, but, like, you need 40. Better luck next time. Like, usually there's summer school or something, right? And so that's the only thing I'm like, what? Like, that doesn't make quite a lot of sense to me. But anyway, then there's no way I can change anything. I don't want to be a bystander anymore, and I love that. I love that for you, Legoshi. You sure are talking big now, but, like, everything changed. But I don't mind that immaturity. Well, calm down and sit. I thought of an ingenious plan. What's the ingenious plan? And then he basically gets, like, strapped into the chair for some reason. What are you about to do? If you're serious about training under me, then prove to me that you're ready. Is this gonna be some kind of puzzle? Does he have to break free by himself? I don't know what this is, though. Like, this is freaking me out. That's the rule of the underworld. So I guess he's gonna lose something to pay for the training? But what's it gonna, you know what I mean? Keep still. Like, think of this as your swearing in ritual. Is he just gonna give him like a scar or something? Are we gonna get like scar Legoshi? I could go for that. But otherwise, I'm kind of like, bro, what are you cutting off, bro? You know what I mean? We may need that. We may need that. So meanwhile, now we are getting into the strip club thing, which they decided to focus on like a completely different character, and I kind of love that. Like, it's the kind of like Beastars whiplash that I expect in a sense. Like, that's happened a couple times too, where we had that episode that focused all on the chicken that laid the eggs that Legoshi like had for lunch or whatever, right? And so we see the girl, the antelope, or I guess maybe she is just a deer. Either way, the deer getting like almost devoured, right? And so we have this happy in heaven, and so it's like a little, obviously it's a theater, it's a strip club, I guess, right? Actually, there is a wolf on the poster, I guess, and so I don't know, it kind of looks like Juno, but I don't think so. It's probably just like some other wolf. I doubt that, like, I don't know, I doubt that Juno's like out doing stuff like that. And so yeah, then we have a carnivore on stage. And so obviously, like, I cannot show any of this. Obviously, there's no, like, real bits because they're animal, but I just don't know. Like, I just don't know about like YouTube stuff. Anyway, so you know what's interesting about this is that as all of the guys are looking towards her, they all look at her basically with their mouths closed, right? Because there's this rule later on, like, oh, you know, please enjoy like the herbivore dancer without baring your fangs. But like, it's interesting for the carnivore dancer, none of them bared their fangs. But then with the herbivore dancer, they all bare their fangs later, right? And so that's kind of the weird thing. It's like when they could bare their fangs, they didn't, because like the whole thing is like, I don't know, because they don't want to eat one of their own, right? I guess is the whole thing. I don't know. But anyway, and so I feel like there's something interesting to say about that, to say that like they weren't baring their fangs when the carnivore was on stage in the first place, right? And so they were like, hey, you know, don't put your fangs out for the herbivore dancer, but all of them have their mouths open like, ah, like, you know what I mean? Later on. Okay, so her name is Cosmo. And so we have this little guy, and I'll actually show him if I can make it. He's so cute, he's a little cat! And I'm just like, oh, and so yeah, lots of security cameras, all that type of stuff. They're all here for you today again. They're just here for the convenient show that stimulates both their appetite and desires. And so she's sort of seeing it as like, they're not here for me, they're just here because it's like a 2-for-1 special. Your appetite and like, you know, I don't know, why ever people go to strippers for. I don't really know. I guess the sexual part, right? So it's like, it's just hitting 2 birds with 1 stone. They don't actually care or like me. Well, lucky you. You get pampered without even trying just because you're a herbivore. And so yeah, you can see this girl's jealousy like a mile away, right? Like, I feel like that, like, she definitely did it. Obviously, she did it. I think that's what, like, the end of the episode basically shows us, right? And so I do want to, like, show off, like, the face of this deer because I really like their design. I like sort of the pattern that they have. I feel like that they're definitely Rui's love interest. I can say that, like, with the utmost certainty, or at least I want her to be. I don't know. There are plenty of substitute carnivore dancers. If you keep this up, you're fired, right? So he's basically saying, hey, if you keep harassing Cosmo, you can get fucked. Like, that's what this little guy is saying right here, which I do, like, appreciate, you know what I mean? If you keep that up, you're fired. So I think that she basically got jealous also for that reason. It's like, first of all, she was always on thin ice, so why not go out with a bang? Like, if you're gonna get fired anyway, why not have her get devoured first? Like, why not devour Cosmo on the way out? Basically, it's like, you can't fire me, I quit, and I devoured your best dancer. I feel like that was basically the mindset of like the cheetah girl over here. Like, I feel like that was the idea, was just like, you know what? Like, if I'm gonna get fired one of these days anyway for how I talk to her, I may as well go big or go home. Yeah, well, the thing is, the guests keep saying that they want the cage removed. And so she says that that's fine with her, but he's like, no, let's not. I don't want to see another dancer getting devoured by a guest who's lost their senses, right? And so it seems like this has happened before, and you can actually see now on her face, she's just like, okay, like, you know, it's happened before, let me like shoot my shot. That's basically what's going on there, right? And so I find that kind of like interesting that there may be like lore, like what about like the last herbivore dancer, right? Will we get to know about them? Were they friends with Cosmo? Like, who knows? Now, the moment you've been waiting for, the last performer is Cosmo, the only herbivore dancer of the black market, right? Everyone, please enjoy with your nails and fangs concealed at all times. See, but they were already concealing their fangs before, right? And I'll show you that now that she's out, they don't listen to that, like, whatsoever. Anyway, so she goes on to say that being a herbivore in the black market is like the front lines of death. But I'm still here in this town because here I can really be myself, right? And so obviously then they lift the cage up and you can actually see in this shot, right, this girl is looking and she's like, all right, like, when's my opportunity? So I like that, like, kind of subtle bit of, like, foreshadowing in that, right? I'll squeeze out as much money as I can from the carnivores before it's too late. And I find that kind of interesting because the other day I was talking with a friend and they were talking about, like, I don't know, it was a school of philosophy, maybe not like a school of philosophy or thought, but just like I don't know, like kind of a sub philosophy of something else, basically. And her thought process was like, if there are people willing to pay for things like OnlyFans, for example, right? Like from girls, or I guess I should say women, right? And so if there are people that are willing to pay for things like OnlyFans from women, why not exploit that? Like, exploit the patriarchy, like, to the fullest extent, I guess is what she was saying, right? And so it's more like, if people are going to treat us like objects anyway, why not, like, make money off of that? That was, like, her mindset as she was talking to me. And so I thought that was kind of interesting because now she has sort of the same mindset. It's like, if carnivores are going to, have this, like, hunger for herbivores or have these fantasies about herbivores, right? So why not, like, use that to my advantage and squeeze out some money from them so I can live, my herbivore life to the fullest almost. And then she says, and then when I die, like, if I die or when I die, I'll allow myself to be devoured to the fullest, right? So I thought that was, like, a very interesting thing, because I always wonder, like, what is Beastars a metaphor for? Because I don't really think that it's a metaphor for, like, racism, even though you have, like, two different species. I think that maybe it may be more along the lines of, like gender and stuff like that. Or I guess, like, you could say that, like, carnivores are, like, men, whereas herbivores are, like, women and stuff. Like, the greater metaphor, obviously that doesn't apply in the show, because there are male herbivores, but more like, the stuff that, like, has to be feared by herbivores, it just reminds me a lot of, like, like, don't walk alone at night, like, don't, like, stuff like that, like, stuff that they tell, obviously, like, us as, like, women, like, not to do, right? Because there may be somebody that sees you, I guess you could say, as prey, right? So I think that's very interesting, because I don't think that it's necessarily, like, again, like, a racism type metaphor. I feel like that it's almost like something else, right? And so, but then you all have all the questions, well, is the show trying to say, like, this is, like, men are like this because men are, like, carnivores, whereas, like, women are like this because women are herbivores, right? Or, like, that, like, herbivores don't have the strength to fight back, so is that, like, sexist? But I think that it's interesting that we also see carnivores and herbivores within the show who also don't fall into that mold. Like, you kind of have the panda guy, right? And, like, he's technically a herbivore, but he is able to, like, kick some ass too, right? And so it's not necessarily about, like, oh, the herbivores are women because they're weak, because that would be not a good thing to say, right? You know what I mean? And so I feel like that it's almost opening up for, like, there's something, I don't know, like, it's broad and it's nuanced and it has layers. It's not, like, as easy as, like, putting, like, all these people into two boxes. And so, yeah, I wonder, like, what is the actual, like, long metaphor or long-term, like, allegory of the show in that regard, right? So anyway, she's just doing her thing, and see what I mean about them is that they didn't have their mouths open like that before, right? And they're supposed to not bare their teeth, but yet, like, here we are. And I think that this is very interesting because this is a very, like, empowering sort of take. Like, you're the ones in the cage. I'm the ruler here. Like, in this place, I'm the one who's ruling, because she's, like, sees herself as manipulating their desires. Like, you know what I mean? Because she was saying, like, now I'll do this, right? So she's saying, like, now I'll take this off. Now I'll do this. And she is basically saying, like, it's almost like a strategy. Like, she has, like, a defined strategy, I guess, inside of her head. And, like, through that strategy, she's manipulating them. So it's almost like, like, you're the ones in the cage here because I'm the one manipulating you. I'm the one, like, basically, like, knowing what buttons to push psychologically to get your money. Like, I guess that's kind of what she's saying. But then the cage is coming down and you can see kind of like the panic on her face as well. And so again, like, I think that it's very interesting how it's a very like balanced metaphor, I guess, you know, because there's the danger of it, of that type of like work, obviously, like of sex work, but then there's also like the empowerment of it. So I feel like that the show did a very good job of like maintaining like the balance, you know, of like, yes, it can be empowering, but it can also be dangerous, and both should be acknowledged, right? And so then we have all of the carnivores who are again like baring their fangs and stuff, and something very interesting happens in this scene, and she seems almost like okay with dying, right? Because I guess her thought process was that it was gonna happen eventually. And so I can't like show you all this, but I'm just gonna zoom in on this guy because like I think that this was almost oddly funny, because as soon as the lights go on and like it's exposed what he's doing, it's like everyone reverts back to normal people. Like he's like, oh shit, like what am I doing up here? It's almost like he had like a lapse in like consciousness. Like he basically went on the stage like as an animal, and then when the lights came on, he was like being a normal dude again, and he was like, whoa, like what was I doing, right? And so this is Rui, right? It's awfully charged up in here, but the stage is a sacred place. And rude fellows who disrupt the performance don't have the right to be on stage. Ill-mannered guests will be disciplined by us. And so yeah, so the guy tries to like make a run for it, right? But then the Shishigumi start to like beat him up, basically. So then Rui basically asks her, you know, are you okay? Why is a herbivore in a place like this? So I think that she's the one asking that, and it's like she's like, you know, she's a herbivore yet, right? And so yeah, what I despise most aren't the carnivores who want to eat me, it's the carnivore guests who pity me, and the herbivores who come to watch just for fun, right? And so she thinks that Rui's another guest, and so that's kind of interesting. It's like, it's not the ones that want to devour me, right? It's the ones that pity me, because it's almost like pity is outside of the carnivore's instinct, right? And then the herbivores who come to watch just for fun, because then that's almost like, you know, the herbivores get off on like seeing that she's like in danger, right? Versus whereas like they are not like in any danger. I don't know. Like that's also a very interesting like thing to say as well, because there's like layers to that. Like you could say like, oh, it's, you know, like the fact that you are coming in as a herbivore and like coming in and witnessing this, like witnessing all these carnivores wanting to like devour me, right? And so it could be like invasive, I guess, in that way, but then you could also think of it as like, you know, the herbivores get to watch safely, like at this situation, a situation that they themselves would not put themselves in because it is too like dangerous and risky. And so it's almost like living vicariously, I guess. Stand around like that and you'll be eaten too. Children should go home and go to bed, right? And so that's the other thing that I was thinking is like, it's kind of funny how she's just like buck naked and yelling at Rui, and Rui also doesn't give a shit. You know what I mean? Like Rui isn't like, oh, sorry, miss. Like he has like he's just like looking at her straight in the eye as she's like all exposed, right? And so yeah, now this girl, yeah, she's in for it, and I feel like that she is the meat that they were eating at the end of the episode. Like I feel like that's heavily implied, because in the other episode it was like, this is the meat of a worthless buffalo who betrayed us. And so I feel like that like this girl is gonna get like the same fate. If the Shishigumi didn't come, oh my gosh, to help the weak and crush the strong. Also, sir, maybe you should get something a bit more permanent on that wall compared to a step ladder. Or why did you put it somewhere you wouldn't be able to reach a dude? You know what I mean? Like put the lever closer to the bottom of the wall. But anyway, I do like this though. To help the weak and crush the strong, that's what the Shishigumi is about now. I do really like that. I think that that's great. So, you did this out of resentment. Everywhere I go, there are carnivores like you. And so, yeah, and so he's basically, like, dragging the girl. Like, you resented her, you were jealous, like, seriously. You're the Shishigumi's boss, and I love this. Rui's just, like, I love his, like, little turnaround here, right? He, like, you know, he's talking to her, and he's like, you told me to go home, miss, right? And so I thought that was so funny. Like, that was so shady, and just, like, look at the look on her face. The black market is my own. I just love him and all the lions behind him, and I ship them so hard. As a fellow herbivore, it's nice to meet you, and I'm just like, Like, I want this to happen so badly. Today's wine tastes extra special. We received another request to hire us as bodyguards, right? So I guess, like, they almost did that, like, in a freelance type way. But, you know what I mean? Like, they basically, like, beat up that guy, to show the owner, like, good faith, and now the owner has hired them, and maybe, like, some other people have also hired them as bodyguards. With Boss, Shishigumi's influence will only expand even more. Our reform was a good move after all, right? And so, yeah, then Rui's like, yeah, without me, the syndicate would have been crushed a long time ago. You guys needed me, right? And what a mean thing to say, but it's true. Well, in any case, it's been such a while since we've had a delicious meal, such a delicious meal. I do not prefer this food, but I am here with you, as they say when in Rome, right? That's all. So, I think that somebody says something, though, about, like, the meat or something. Like, somebody says something about, like, the delicacy of the meat. Maybe that was in English, but I don't know. I think that it is the girl. I think that it is the stripper that, like, you know. But, yeah, and so he basically goes, and then he goes and throws up. And so I think it was funny how last week everybody was saying how, like, no, but deer are, like, opportunistic, like, carnivores. Like, they will eat meat sometimes, and now the show's like, LOL, that's funny. You know what I mean? Like, no. For now, I've been sustaining myself with energy drinks, and so he's, like, so low on energy because he hasn't been having, like, any vegetables and stuff. Like, he's barely getting any nutrients. What is it, Ibuki? Yeah, so one of you guys told me that Free and Ibuki were not the same person. I'm sorry. But yeah, so Ibuki is the one in the back, and he's also the one in the back in the end credit song, and he's also, like, the one who was like, son, and I kind of like that. Oh my god, can you imagine? Has anybody seen Hamilton? Can you imagine, like, an AMV where it's like, son, don't call me son, like that scene between Washington and Hamilton? Oh my god, that'd be so cool. I'm sure somebody's done it already. That's all I could think of, right? And so Ibuki brings him vegetables because he's getting, you know, thinner and thinner. I'm the one who suggested making you the boss. I feel responsible. And so he gives him little vegetables, and I thought that was so nice, because throughout this entire scene, right, you know, like, she's like, are you mocking me? Right? I expected you to say that. Are you, like, you're gonna sit here and laugh as I devour these beans? Right? But I think that what he doesn't realize is that, like, I think that he doesn't want to be pitied by Ibuki, but I feel like Ibuki's not pitying him. He almost, like, sees him as, like, a son, right? Watching me wretchedly wolf down these vegetables, right? Are you secretly laughing at me? So it's like, don't make light of me. Don't pity me. It's not like that, right? And so he's like, how can you be so stubborn? I feel like what he's trying to say, right? And so I feel like that's interesting, because I feel like it's not about pity, and it's not about laughing at him, and it's not about seeing him as weak. It's just like he thinks of him as his, like, his son, you know? Rui's his son. He just wants to take care of his son. And then, okay, so yeah, what's interesting is this guy must see the vegetables, right? And so I feel like that he may start talking shit and being like, Rui's eating vegetables, right? He may, I don't know. But yeah, so a young wolf is here to see you, and this is like the fake out of the fucking century, okay? A wolf, because I feel like he thinks it's Legoshi, but instead we see that it's Juno, and she's like, I'll bite if you touch me, okay? Like, you know what I mean? I'm not here to fuck around, and I thought that this was, like, amazing. Like, why is she here? What does she want? I mean, what I'm assuming is that she must think that, like, you know, that Rui could have only, I guess, escaped the Shishigumi, like, one way, because, like, she knew, I think, like, she knew that Legoshi came back, right? She saw Legoshi came back saving Haru, but Rui also went to save Haru, and he technically didn't come back, right, until this, and so she must think that, like, okay, she must have put two and two together, basically, like, oh, you know, if Rui didn't get eaten, there's only one explanation left, and that he's still, like, in there, you know what I mean? And so maybe she thinks that he's, like, kidnapped, but he came back, right? He came back to give his resignation, so she must know, like, okay, so he's not kidnapped, he's the boss now, and so now, what is she gonna say? Like, you know what I mean? What does she want? Does she want to talk about the title of Beastar? Does she want to talk about Legoshi? Like, what does Juno want to talk about? I have no fucking idea. Like, I have literally no clue. I have absolutely no idea. I can't even make a prediction. And so, yeah, I really liked this episode, but that is all from me, everyone. I hope you enjoyed. Sorry for having to dance around, like, the stripper scene so much. It's kind of annoying for me too, probably annoying also for my editor, but yeah, we have to keep things, you know, YouTube safe, YouTube friendly, all that fun stuff. So I hope that you enjoyed my review. Thank you for attending Calxiyn's royal court for today, as we discussed, analyzed, and theorized a tiny bit, mostly about the murderer. I can't theorize about Juno. I have no idea what the fuck she's doing here, and I cannot wait for next episode. So I hope that you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!